You think she forgot you. You think the silence means you meant nothing. But the truth is more uncomfortable than that, and a lot more powerful. Because silence doesn't always mean absence. Sometimes silence means the story isn't finished. You're sitting there replaying the last conversation, the last message, the last time she looked at you like you mattered. And now, nothing. No texts, no calls, no late night "I miss you," just distance. And your mind fills in the blank. She moved on. She found someone better. She doesn't think about me at all. That's the story you tell yourself when your confidence is bleeding. But here's the reality most men never understand. When a woman truly forgets you, you don't get silence. You get indifference. And indifference is loud in a very specific way. It's clean. It's final. It's emotionless. No tension. No curiosity. No lingering energy. Silence is different. Silence means something still exists in the space between you. Before we go deeper, do yourself a favor. If you're the kind of man who needs reminders like this, real talk, not comfort talk, subscribe now. Not for me, for you. Because the world is full of noise that weakens men. This is the place you come back to when you need the truth again. Now let's talk about what's really happening. You think she stopped thinking about you because she stopped talking to you. That's the misconception. Here's the hard truth. People don't stop thinking about the ones who changed them. And if you mattered, if you truly impacted her, your absence doesn't erase you. It amplifies you. Here's what it really means when she's silent, but you still live somewhere in her mind. It means the version of you she experienced created a reference point, a comparison, a memory that keeps showing up at inconvenient times, not because she wants it to, but because that's how human psychology works. Think about it. You don't remember every person you dated. You forget most of them, but there are one or two, maybe three, that still cross your mind years later. Why? Because they triggered something real. Emotion, growth, challenge, a different version of yourself. That's what leaves a mark. And when a man leaves a mark, silence doesn't erase it. It preserves it. But here's where most men destroy their own power. They panic. They start chasing answers. They send the just checking in message. They watch her stories. They like her photos. They try to remind her they exist. And the moment you do that, the dynamic changes because mystery turns into availability. Presence turns into pursuit. And pursuit, when it's driven by insecurity, kills the very thing that kept you on her mind. See, the memory of you is powerful only when it stays intact. The moment you start begging for attention, you rewrite the character she remembers. You stop being the man she respected. You become the man trying to get picked. That's the cost. And most men pay it without realizing it. They don't understand the deeper mechanism at play. Let's break it down. When you were with her, she experienced a version of you. Maybe you were confident. Maybe you were focused on your path. Maybe you challenged her thinking. Maybe you weren't afraid to walk away from things that didn't align with your standards. That version of you created emotional gravity. That's called imprinting. An imprint happens when someone experiences you as different from the rest. Not louder, not flashier, different, more grounded, more certain, more real. Now here's the twist most people miss. Imprints don't disappear just because communication stops. If anything, distance makes them stronger because the mind fills empty space with imagination. And imagination almost always exaggerates the memory. But this only works under one condition. You don't chase, you don't collapse. You don't shrink into the version of yourself that needs validation. Because the moment you do, the image breaks. And once the image breaks, the imprint fades. So the real question isn't, is she thinking about me? That question is weak. The real question is this. If she did think about you today, what version of you would exist in her mind? The man who stood strong or the man who couldn't handle silence? That's the difference between a memory that lingers and one that disappears. Now let's talk about why silence happens in the first place. Most people assume silence means someone doesn't care. Wrong. Silence usually means someone is processing something they don't fully understand. Maybe the connection scared her. Maybe the timing was wrong. Maybe she wasn't ready for the level of depth that came with being around you. Or maybe she simply needed space to figure out her own life. But here's the critical point. Her silence is about her process, not your worth. Weak men interpret silence as rejection. Grounded men interpret silence as information, information that tells them one simple thing. Right now, the only move is to step back into your own life, because the strongest position a man can hold is the one where his direction doesn't depend on someone else's attention. That's power. And women feel that. Not because they're calculating it, because energy reveals it. You know the type of man I'm talking about. He doesn't chase explanations. He doesn't beg for clarity. He doesn't sit around analyzing screenshots and message timestamps. He moves, he builds, he trains his body, he sharpens his mind, he invests in his mission. And when silence appears in his life, he doesn't fill it with desperation. He fills it with progress. That man is dangerous in the best possible way, because his identity isn't built on being chosen. His identity is built on choosing his path. And here's the paradox. That's the man who stays on people's minds. Not because he tries to, because he refuses to perform for approval. Presence versus neediness, reality versus fantasy, strength versus validation. You can't fake this. You become it. And the transformation starts with a simple shift. You stop asking, why isn't she reaching out? You start asking, am I becoming the man I respect? You stop refreshing her social media. You start refreshing your standards. You stop trying to prove your value to someone who stepped back. You start proving your discipline to yourself. You stop chasing closure. You start building momentum. You stop. And in that stopping, something powerful happens. Your energy returns to you because every ounce of attention you gave to wondering about her comes back into your control. And once that energy returns, you redirect it. You train harder. You work deeper. You learn faster. You build something that exists whether she ever comes back or not. That's the shift. You're no longer living in reaction. You're living in direction. And direction is magnetic. Now let's address the part that might sting. Some men secretly want her to think about them. Not because they love her, because they want validation. They want proof they mattered. But when you become a man with real self-respect, that need disappears because your value isn't measured by who misses you. Your value is measured by the life you're building. And ironically, that's when people start remembering you. Because people remember those who move forward without bitterness, without desperation, without noise. You become the quiet reference point, the one she compares others to without admitting it, the one that made her realize what grounded masculinity actually looks like. Not loud, not controlling, not dramatic, stable, focused, self-directed. That's rare. And rare things linger in memory. But listen carefully. You don't become that man to make her think about you. You become that man because that's who you choose to be, whether she notices or not, whether she returns or not, whether she ever speaks to you again or not. Your growth isn't a performance, it's a commitment. And that commitment changes everything because once you internalize this truth, the entire dynamic flips. You're no longer the man wondering if you're still in her head. You're the man too busy building a life to care. And ironically, that's the moment your presence becomes unforgettable. Not because you tried to be, because authenticity leaves an echo. Now let's get practical. If you're in this situation right now, here's what you do. First, you accept the silence. No dramatizing it, no interpreting it as a personal failure, just acceptance. Second, you remove the habits that keep you mentally tied to her. Stop checking. Stop analyzing. Stop creating imaginary conversations in your head. Those behaviors keep you stuck in a loop. Third, you redirect your attention into tangible progress, physical training, skill development, financial growth, creative output. Build things that make you proud when you look in the mirror. Fourth, strengthen your standards, not just in relationships, in every area of life. The way you show up, the way you speak, the way you spend your time, you become more intentional. And finally, you detach from the outcome. If she reaches out one day, fine. If she doesn't, also fine. Because by that point, your life has expanded beyond the need for that answer. That's real freedom. And freedom is attractive in a way that neediness never will be. So if you're wondering why she might still think about you even though she's silent, it's not because you chased. It's not because you pleaded. It's because at some point she saw a glimpse of a man who respected himself. And self-respect leaves an imprint. But the story doesn't end with her memory. The story ends with your identity. You are not the man waiting to be remembered. You are the man becoming impossible to ignore, not through noise, through substance, through discipline, through direction. And when you truly step into that identity, something powerful happens. The question of whether she still thinks about you becomes irrelevant because you're no longer defined by someone else's attention. You're defined by your own evolution. You are the answer, not her text, not her curiosity, not her return. You. And if this kind of truth is the reminder you need, if you're done with soft advice and ready for clarity, subscribe and stay here. Because this isn't just a channel. It's a place where men rebuild their standards, their focus, and their identity. And once you walk that path long enough, silence stops feeling like rejection. It starts feeling like space. Space for you to become the man you were always supposed to be.